Welcome everyone to Mailed Fuzz News. I am Peter, that is Connor, and this is your jam-packed Saturday edition for the week, where we've got a bunch of movie news, a bunch of TV news, a couple of trailers, and some of it might even be interesting. We'll find out.
Ooh, it's a bold claim.
Well, there's some DC castings for the worst Green Lantern later on, but that we'll get to that when we get to the TV section. We'll start off with movies. We have a teaser trailer for The Tomorrow War, which is the Chris Pratt starring. This is a movie we've been hearing about for ages, but Amazon bought it during kind of... I don't know if this was pre-pandemic or this was early on in the pandemic when they realised it was going to be tough getting movies out, so they started selling them to some streaming services, but regardless, Amazon ended up with it, so they put out a teaser trailer for this, which is coming out on the 2nd of July. So I guess it's their 4th of July weekend big movie. It just happens to be on Amazon instead of go to the theaters.
There's a logic to that from Amazon's perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the biggest 4th of July movies that exists is Independence Day. Not just because it's called Independence Day, but because it did come out that weekend, and obviously, and I couldn't help, not that this looks like the exact same thing, but it's fighting aliens, and there's a lot of heroic, we have to save the country, Chris Pratt's holding a gun. It's not a lot. It's like 30 seconds long. There's snippets of them sneaking around cities, upstairs. They're firing at aliens.
Yeah, it's hard to say it's anything actually like Independence Day, but just if you boil it down to that core elements, sure, I can see it.
They want us to feel the same way that Independence Day trailers made people feel in 1996. I think that's the some of it.
I'll give you that, yeah.
Whether or not the movie is even remotely similar, if anything, the biggest critique I can have for it right now, and I can't really critique it too much because it's a 30-second trailer, but there's not a lot in it to judge, is that it doesn't sell me in anything new or interesting. It's just people versus aliens. Aliens are invading, there's people fighting.
It's I would say it's not even people versus aliens. This trailer is, hey, Chris Pratt. That's like 90% of this trailer.
Yes, but they are firing at something. They're pointing their guns at something. There is seemingly aliens. So it looks potentially very generic, but I'm pretty sure if you make a 30-second trailer out of any movie, they're going to look pretty generic.
It's really hard to do, inventive trailers in 30 seconds.
You have to have a real spin on your concept and sort of present it in a really smart way to do it that quickly.
In their defense, this is actually a teaser trailer, unlike some teaser trailers, which are just 2 minutes long and they're just basically trailer 0.5.
And they're just full trailers at that point. They're nothing else. As opposed to the opposite, which is a trend that thankfully has died down, but there was a couple of years there where they liked to put out 5-second teasers for the trailers that were coming later that week, and I hated that trend. So
at least linguistically they were correct by calling them trailer teasers and not teaser trailers.
Some called some called them teaser trailers. I saw that phrasing, and it annoyed me every time.
I will say the majority of them gave it the correct name. I won't defend all of them though.
The naming wasn't the main issue though. Just the idea in general was stupid.
Stupid, yeah.
But the best thing I can say about it is that it does look like a real movie that looks like it should have been released in theaters.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
It's got a star in it. It looks high budget enough. It doesn't feel like a direct streaming budget.
Doesn't feel cheap, yeah.
So that is the nicest thing I can say. It's the only thing I can say. So there you go. The Tomorrow War coming 2nd of July. So presumably a big proper 2-minute trailer at some point in the next month or so. We also got a full trailer though for Luca, which is Pixar's next movie, which is going straight to Disney Plus, seemingly, on the 18th of June.
So, yeah, it said so in the trailer. I don't know if that's going to be behind the paywall early access thing that they do.
Yeah, I don't know either. Somehow, for some reason, Pixar movies have started to get to the point for me where I don't know about them until there's a trailer, and I'm like, oh, this is the next Pixar movie. I had no idea what this was. This is about two fish who transform into human beings, and
seemingly just whenever they're on dry land, not like some weird magic thing.
Yeah, it just seems to be a thing. And they're told by their parents and by whoever that they never go to the surface. The dry land is dangerous. You can't go there. But these two go up and they try to blend in, and hilarity ensues because they are, well, literally fishes out of water. And they meet a girl who kind of befriends them and sort of takes them around. And I mean, the best thing I'll say about this is it was a cat with a Ron Swanson mustache, and that is peak Pixar, quite frankly, if I do say so myself.
It's interesting you say the words peak Pixar, and this movie may be phenomenal. I don't know.
Yes.
It may well be. But it's the least Pixar-looking movie at a glance. Stylistically, it's very DreamWorks.
I would counter that and say that equally Good Dinosaur also looked the least Pixar thing.
That's fair. In a very different way. That was pretty unique, though. Whereas this, if you told me this was a DreamWorks movie, I'd have probably believed you.
Sure. I feel like... I mean, I don't know what constitutes that look. I think it's started to veer a little bit. I think ever since Brave, honestly, I would say you're hit and miss with what Pixar movies actually feel like Pixar movies and not DreamWorks movies. Or I should say just Disney as a whole, animated.
Maybe. I think this in particular, it's the more rounded features of the faces in particular. It feels a lot more like a lot of DreamWorks stuff. More of a design aesthetic rather than
I'm not even
technique.
talking about design. I'm talking about just plot style and what the stories are. Because I remember distinctly feeling when Brave came out that it felt not like a Pixar movie, but just like a Disney movie, even though it was a Pixar movie. And I think that since then, the ones I've seen. Now, this is not even a quality. I'm not even talking about quality here, because the
Disney movies as well are pretty well regarded.
A lot of them are, yeah. But some of them have been very good. But I would definitely say that. They don't necessarily feel like Pixar in their golden age in the sense that they don't feel distinctly Pixar in style.
I get where you come from. The Disney and Pixar releases of the last few years can feel a little bit interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like Big Hero 6 was a Disney movie, but if you'd said, oh, that was a Pixar movie, you'd probably believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes both ways, I think.
I think the key thing is that Pixar movies in their heyday were never about humans, with the notable exception, unless I'm forgetting one, of Up, which was unique because it was an old man in an animated movie.
You are forgetting one.
Credibles?
Yes, the best one.
As is debatable. But...
screw you.
Okay, yeah, Incredible sticks out. Because I'm thinking most of them, either they're toys or they're fish or they're bugs.
I'm looking at them all there. Toy Story, Bugs, Monsters Inc., Nemo, Cars, Ratatouille, which has humans in.
But it's about a rat. It's about a rat.
About a rat. Wall-E, yeah. Up is the 10th Pixar movie, and that's the first one that features let's say normal humans, because Incredibles, it's a superhero film.
Yes. Now, technically, these kids in this aren't humans, so I know that defeats my point. But
but it is
they're mostly
set
human
in some Italian village.
Yes, and they look human most of the time, seemingly from the glimpses we get in this trailer. So, but none of this is important. It's just to say that I guess Pixar's identity has kind of just evaporated in a way.
And I get where you come from. Yeah, and it's not a damning of the quality, because I don't think you've seen Coco.
Oh, I have seen Coco. Coco was good.
Oh, have you? I think Coco is like one of their best in years. I think it's fantastic. I think it's up there with their heyday stuff.
Yeah, and I had fun with Onward, but I didn't necessarily feel like a Pixar movie.
No, that one didn't. But I'd say Coco did, but obviously it absolutely focuses on the humans.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, is ultimately the takeaway from this. It's just, I guess something feeling like a Pixar movie doesn't really happen that much anymore. I guess maybe when they do Toy Story 5 or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know what their next non-original movie is on the slate. I'm sure they've got one.
But yeah, this looks perfectly fine. I'm sure it'll be delightful.
Yeah, I think it looks solid.
Sure, it'll be delightful.
Assuming it's not on the early access on Disney Plus, I'll probably check it out roughly when it comes out. If not, I'll wait the 3 months and watch it then.
I started to watch Soul, which I know I should.
That is very interesting movie. That is a very un-Pixar, very interesting movie.
We just had a whole conversation about how Pixar movies are, and I feel like what you're trying to say here is different from what we were just discussing. So your phrasing was a bit off.
Yeah, I think it's because okay. Here's the thing: these other Pixar movies that are focusing on humans tend to still have a pretty similar focus and themes. They fit within the general Pixar ethos. Whereas Soul is very much this, it's like an existential crisis that a middle-aged man has. It's very different, and not through the lens of like superheroics, like you could say Incredibles is. So it's very different in that way. It has a very different feel to it.
I'll get around to it. But let's move on to other news. DC Fandom is coming back. If you remember last year, it was an event, and it was like a put some movies or TV. But I feel like the bigger stuff we talked about last year from it was the movie trailer from the Batman and the Suicide Squad trailer. And given that they've got, at least right now, they have 4 movies scheduled for 2022. I feel like they have a potential for a lot of trailers for this event.
4 movies next, like Batman, obviously.
Batman, Aquaman, Black Adam, and Shazam 2 are all scheduled for next year, if I remember right.
Seriously?
They're all dated for next year. And some of them probably might get pushed, but as of right now, they're all scheduled for next year.
I assumed there was at least a year between Black Adam and Shazam.
They're not even the two furthest apart. Aquaman's the last one, which is the one that's most likely to move, probably.
Yeah. It surprises me, but I mean, what are you going to do?
But the point being is that unlike last year, where everything had literally just shut down because of the pandemic, this year, presumably, they're going to be relatively close. And I know the Batman's definitely finished shooting, so we know we're probably due a nice big full second trailer for that. But all of those movies, in the same way that Batman got a very early trailer that was a teaser, I feel like even the latest thing from 2022 could probably get one of those. So probably plenty of stuff there, probably more game stuff. Anyway, so this is coming the 16th of October. So they're announcing this in advance. This is a 6 months notice for this thing.
That tells me that they want to make this an actual thing, because it was incredibly successful last year.
It was surprisingly good. I was not expecting it to be notable, because so many of when companies do their own little thing like this, you'll get 1 or 2 notable things. But this actually felt like by the time we got to the end of the day, there was a Comic-Con worthy amount of like stuff to talk about between the movies, games, and TV, and announcements and trailers, and some of the games were brand new that they revealed. Like it felt like there was actually proper, I don't want to say bombshells, but proper big things being announced and revealed.
There was news, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Whereas Comic-Con at home, which happened just before it last year, had nothing. No one was talking about it. No one cared. There was like online panels and stuff, but nothing came out of it. No one committed to making it feel like a big event. Whereas clearly DC kept everything for their own event, and it ended up feeling like a big deal because of it. So
they had enough to make it worthwhile, and I believe they absolutely do again this year. Between you mentioned those 4 movies at the very least, they'll have probably 2 or 3 TV shows significantly further in development at that point that they can show us stuff from. Second, we'll have a new look at presumably the Arkham game, because that obviously got delayed. But then there'll probably be a gameplay reveal for the Suicide Squad one.
Yeah, because even that will be a year later. So work will have improved, advanced since. There's a lot of potential. And obviously, I know Disney have D23, but Marvel could easily also have one of these every year, but and have their movies, TV, and games reveal shit, and it would just be as successful. So, maybe they'll follow suit if they keep looking at this and see the buzz, because this did generate a decent amount of buzz for various things last year. So we'll see.
It did.
We'll see how it does.
It's possible Disney will want to just keep it at D23 and just keep it all in the one place.
But they don't stream anything from that, do they?
Not usually, but they might start.
Because that's the advantage this had. This streamed everything, and everyone got to witness the trailer together, and people were talking about it on Twitter. I know they want to give exclusive stuff to people who buy tickets to go to events, but ultimately the buzz that comes out from an E3 or something, because we all get to see the trailers, or as DC Fandom proved last year, like we were all talking about that Batman trailer, we were all talking about the Suicide Squad reveal. Like,
yeah, it's hard to deny how shockingly successful it was in pretty much everything it set out to do, barring the comics, which But again, if we treat it like Comic-Con,
yes,
we probably wouldn't have got any comics announcement anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that to be the focus, but it felt like they'd have like a batch of comic announcements. It was especially weird because we were due some, and they all came out like a month later. So it was like, why not just do them all there?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, weirdos. But okay. But so DC Fandom's coming back in October 16th to be precise. Alright, so let's move on to some other movie stuff then. Andy and Barbara Muschietti from It Chapters 1 and 2 and other stuff. I'm not a fan, unfortunately, but they're teaming with they've launched production company Double Dream. They set up a film with Amblin, and they're also joining Oscar-nominated Big Sick writer Emily V. Gordon and her husband Camille Nanjiani, of course, and they're going to write. He's going to co-star. So there's a reason to be excited about this, even though Muschietti's are involved. And again, I'm taking that as my, So Muschietti's directing, but having them on the writing makes me feel better.
It might be that their writing can overpower mediocre direction.
Yes. Because Mama was mediocre and dull as shit. It Chapter 1 had some positive qualities, but the second part proved that it was all in the concept and I think writing.
I'm even more negative on It Chapter 1 in that I thought it was so mediocre I didn't even bother watching Chapter 2.
Trust me, it was. You'll dislike 2 a lot more than you dislike 1. I promise. So this is The Doubtful Guest. So this is based on a book by Edward Gorey. So this is the third book that was written by Gorey. This is Gorey with an E before the Y, by the way. I didn't realize till I started saying it out loud that it sounds like I'm saying gory, like like a horror movie, kill. Like a gory. It's a good name though. So originally published in 1957, the story revolves around a mysterious, mischievous creature whose unannounced and unwelcome arrival at a family's home brings trouble and chaos. So, yeah, Nanjiani being in this is an interesting, because it sounds like a horror movie. It sounds like a monster movie.
Yeah, he's in a Marvel movie coming up, right? And got kind of
Eternals, yeah.
Eternals, that was the one. Okay, and didn't he go through a big workout program for it?
He got pretty buff for the movie.
So maybe this is the next stage of his career. Yeah, he's moving into more, away from the comedy roles and more to maybe showing off some other areas of his talent.
I guess you don't have to be buff for a horror movie. If anything, it works better if it looks vulnerable.
No. I get that, but more, I meant more just that was the transition point.
Yes. Well, I mean, I love The Big Sick, so I mean, this will get a bit more attention from me than it otherwise would with the Muschiettis involved. So yes, there you go. Moving on, we have Dominic Fishback, who we know from The Deuce. Was recently in Judas and the Black Messiah. Got some praise for her performance in that. She is apparently found her next role. Don't get too excited. When I say what it is, you're not going to be excited. The next Transformers movie.
I mean, I could be excited. I really like Bumblebee.
She's in
I'm assuming this isn't Michael Bay, right?
Well, she's in final negotiations to star with Anthony Ramos in a Transformers movie for Paramount. Which notable, they're not saying Transformers 6 they'd be on, right? Because last night was that 4? I know.
You had.
Last night was 5. Because
that was 5 or 6. It definitely wasn't 4.
No, it was definitely 5 because the rape card one was 4 with Wahlberg. And there was
the Shia trilogy.
Yes. So there you go.
The Shia trilogy, the rape card, and then the not King Arthur.
I never saw the King Arthur one. It's the only Transformers movie I've not seen.
I mean, I will give it this: it's better than the rape card one.
I mean, that's fair.
It's a low bar though, so
it's a very low bar. So Darnell Mattier and Josh Peters are writing based off a script by Joby Harold for this Transformers movie. Ramos seemed like the front runner from the beginning. So yeah, apparently Paramount took their time finding a lead actress. So she's not completely signed on the contract yet, but final negotiations means it's likely going to happen. So yeah, I don't think we have like a. So this is just a Transformer. There's no specific like pitch or no specific this is what it is in terms of a spin-off, or this is what it is in terms of a sequel? Is this just kind of a soft reboot where this is the next one that'll just be Transformers : something?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I don't think they know what they're doing with the franchise at the minute.
Yeah. I mean, Bumblebee was kind of the start of a bit of a revamp, but we'll see if this... I don't know.
It was technically a different timeline.
Yeah, I don't know if this technically continues that timeline. It sort of can do it without really caring about it, but we'll see. So, this film is scheduled to come out on the 24th of June, 2022. It's a bit soon, given they're just casting now. But
just your surprise and disbelief as reading that, I was like, yeah, that does seem weird.
I mean, I guess if they're shooting over the summer, then I guess that works out. But
it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's just surprising.
Sometimes these big effects-heavy blockbusters, they're shot so far in advance because they spend so much time in post that you don't realize that, when Endgame came out, they actually shot Endgame like a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago even at that point. So that is a little surprising, but it's not impossible. But I also wouldn't be surprised to hear if this gets pushed to maybe a winter release or something.
Or 2023.
Or 2023. But we'll see. But then again, Paramount has to fill up the Paramount Plus service, so maybe they'll make sure to have their new Transformers movie. Next up, we got some Borderlands casting. The Borderlands,
I forgot this was a thing.
Adaptation, in which what's his face from Jumanji, Chris
Rock?
No, not Chris Rock. You seen Jumanji?
I know. I'm just forgetting. Who is in Jumanji?
Kevin Hart. That's the name I'm trying to think of.
That's wow. You're giving me the wrong first name. I'm just throwing out Chris's.
I'm sorry. Who was in? What Chris was in Jumanji?
I don't know. I'm just throwing out Chris's. I'm tired.
All right. So Kevin Hart's in it, but he's not playing Claptrap, which is amazing because he feels like he's the perfect person to be playing. Instead, Jack Black, who was also in Jumanji, is playing Claptrap. Anyway, that's all.
That's also pretty good.
This is all news that we knew. We already knew about Cate Blanchett. We already knew about Jamie Lee Curtis and all these other people. But
I don't think I did.
What the new news is that Gina Gershon is going to play Moxie, which I think is a change. I feel like someone else was cast as Moxie at some point, and this has changed. But I like Gina Gershon well enough. It's an interesting casting. Just given who Moxie is in the games and how sort of like sultry she's supposed to be, I would have expected a 22-year-old to be playing Moxie.
Yeah, they could have got away with it and no one would have batted an eyelid.
Yeah, because Gina Gershon has to be in her mid-50s at least by now, so this is actually kind of a surprising route to take with the character. So fair play. But she's always been a very sultry actress. So I had a lot of very sultry. I've never seen Bound, but she's in that, and she's she was kind of like the mistress on like a season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So yeah, so interesting. Shannon Jackson is going to play Jacobs. I think was one of the main player characters in one of the. No, was Jacobs the guy that sells the guns? Yeah, maybe.
It's been a while since I played Borderlands.
It's been a while. Benjamin Byron Davis as Marcus. Stephen Boyer's been cast as Scooter, and Ryan Redmond as Ellie. So yeah, they're rolling out a bunch of the cast.
Marcus, I'm pretty sure, is the generic soldier.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Scooter is one of the guys near the very first village.
Isn't he the Catch a Ride dude? No?
Maybe. That might be it, yeah.
Catch a Ride! Is that not him?
It might well be, but that's what I'm thinking, because that's that early quest to do with that around the first village. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Anyway, so bunch of huge cast, some odd takes. I don't see the name here, but I feel like I saw someone else, and the opposite to Moxie, I think Sir Hammerlock from the second game is actually like a really young guy, which is again like the opposite of what you'd expect. You expect him to be like an older dude with a big mustache, but I mean,
as long as they got the big mustache.
That's the important part, is the big mustache, absolutely.
It is.
There's no question about that. There you go, that's Borderlands. More interesting than a Borderlands adaptation, we have a new David Cronenberg film gearing up to shoot this summer. We have a cast list here for it. It is a sci-fi original thriller coming from Cronenberg. It's called Crimes of the Future. He wrote it. He's going to direct it. And it's locked in Viggo Mortensen, who he's worked with before in a couple of things. Leah Sado and Kristen Stewart round out the lead cast members. We also have Scott Speedman, Welke Bungjo, I'm probably butchering that name, Don McKellar, and Lihe Karnowski. So that's your cast for it. This is an original sci-fi script by Cronenberg, his first since 1999's existence. I don't know if you might pronounce existence in a weird way, because it's got a lowercase e, a capital X, and then a uppercase Z at the end. It's got a really weird spelling. I don't know if you
I'm shocked.
Existence or something. Existence. I don't know. Anyway, so it's taking a deep dive into the not too distant future where humankind is learning to adapt to its synthetic surroundings. This evolution moves humans beyond their natural state and into a metamorphosis, altering their biological makeup. While some embrace the limitless potential of transhumanism, others attempt to police it. Either way, accelerated evolution syndrome is spreading fast. Saul Tenser is a beloved performance artist who has embraced accelerated evolution syndrome, sprouting new and unexpected organs in his body. Along with his partner Caprice, Tenser has turned the removal of the organs into a spectacle for his loyal followers to marvel at in real-time theatre. But with both the government and a strange subculture taking note, Tenser is forced to consider what would be his most shocking performance of all. Yeah, that sounds high concept.
The only thing I dislike out of everything you've said so far is it had a really generic title.
Crimes of the Future, sure. It does have a pretty generic title.
But I mean, if that's the problem with it, I can get over that.
What's funny is that David Cronenberg's a director who some of his movies I really like, and then some of them I just really don't click with at all. He's very hit and miss with me, and that's okay. He has a very divisive style, and even with me, he's got a very divisive record. So some I love, some I hate. I shouldn't say hate. I always appreciate that he's going for something. I just don't necessarily like experiencing it.
Doesn't always work for you.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing here that now he's competing with his son, because his son's last film, Possessor from last year or the year before even, was great, and it was so visceral, and like it was almost like he came along and said, you know what, my dad's got a reputation for, you know, being kind of in your face and being kind of, you know, mature rated and violent or whatever. I'm going to top everything he ever did. And he does. Like, that movie reminds you that violence is not funny, and that violence is terrifying, and that violence is something that we should never have in the world. Like, it makes you feel uncomfortable with violence. And I'm just curious to see how David's going to try and one up his son now. If, you know, not that he has to up the violence or anything like that, just in the sense of like is this going to have as much of an impact?
I love how you think he's in competition with his own son. It's like, screw you.
It should be.
Let me show you how it's done.
I feel like most times when celebrities have kids, the kids end up being pills in comparison to the originals, and you just kind of like, you're trying because your last name's this, but honestly, you should just go and do something else. This is the one case where I'm like, you know what? I think Brandon might even end up being better than his father. This is
There's like a couple of examples potentially.
I'm not saying there's none, but I'm thinking of anything where like Will Smith's kids have tried to like be in anything. I think
the most successful ones are where they're not in the same scene, but are still famous in their own, like Liv Tyler, for example.
Okay, yeah, all right. Obviously, an example that goes against what I'm saying and is as successful as Jamie Lee Curtis, because her mother was in Psycho. So you've got a very similar, you know, you got an actor who's even in a big successful horror movie. You've got a lot of parallels. Carrie Fisher. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I was trying to think who's Carrie Fisher's mother, and I was like, oh no, you mean her daughter?
Oh no, her mother, Debbie Reynolds as well.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Potentially three generations. If
potentially, I mean, let's give Billy a little bit of time. To be fair.
I mean, I like her a lot. She's not necessarily achieved the big success yet, but
no, I wouldn't say she's at her mother's level yet. But I mean, I guess this also may be a generational thing as well, though. If you ask someone old enough, they might say Debbie Reynolds is still, you know, the better one.
True. I mean, she wasn't in Star Wars, so I mean that's a big knock for her right there.
That really doesn't help.
It's a big for her. No, I'm saying that's a good thing for her. I'm saying that's.
Oh.
She didn't sully her career with George Lucas talking about space monks.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could do a George.
Look,
I wish I could do a George Lucas impression because I'd be whipping it out every time I could.
I can't wait till you have to do the news next week, because on a certain day next week, there is going to be Star Wars news. That is a fact.
The news will be taking a hiatus for a few days next week. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I bet it will. Yeah, I bet it will.
If nothing else, I really. What day does that fall on? Tuesday.
And I know that seems weird that I knew that quickly, but in my defense, my workplace is dressing up like they're going all out for it. So it's all anyone's talking about at work.
I bet you're in your element. There's a potential that you might not be on that news, which would be ideal. The less of you on Star Wars days, the better.
I am telling you right now, I am barging in for a special on that section of the news, one way or another.
If you're not available to record on Tuesday, you're too busy dressing up for work. You don't have time.
No, it's fine. I finish at like midnight. I can come home. We can record the news.
Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe I've got stuff to do after that. Maybe I can't record that late.
Shit. You can move it. You can't record that late. You record everything that late.
Yeah, but I'm saying maybe I have other plans to record other things that night, and maybe I can't do it late. So I'm just saying that you might not be able to make the Star Wars news day, and that's
what I'm saying is, if for some reason you can't make that recording on the Tuesday night, then you are holding that goddamn news until Wednesday, and I am doing it then. We'll see. There are conditions to this.
Yes, Cronenberg's making a movie, which is far more interesting than Star Wars. So next up, Johnny Smollett has got a new role upcoming. Of course, you might know her from Lovecraft Country. You might know her as Black Canary from Birds of Prey. But she's joining Alison Janney, who's also starring and executive producing in the Anna Forster directed film for Netflix, which is called Lou. So written by Maggie Cohn. A young girl is kidnapped. Her mother, with no other option, teams up with a mysterious older woman next door to pursue the kidnapper. A journey into the wilderness that will test their limits and expose dark and shocking secrets from their pasts. Bad Robot's also producing, so J.J. Abrams' name's thrown in there at the end, but doesn't really mean anything. So presumably Smollett's the mother, and then Alison Janney's the older crazy neighbour who's going to
I would
help her.
assume as much, otherwise this would be very weird.
It'd be very stunt casty if Alison Janney was supposed to be the young mother, and then Johnny Smollett pretends to be 80.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Maybe she has the range, I don't know. Maybe they both have the range for that.
I wouldn't put it past them. I think both of them are very good. They can pull it off.
Yeah. Honestly, the premise doesn't give me enough to really go on as far as being interesting.
No,
but
it's vague. Good cast, though, so far.
Yeah. It's sad that it being a Netflix movie instantly makes me go, it's probably going to be bland. Because I feel like most of the movies are bland.
I want to watch that new Anna Kendrick one. I mean, it's probably bland, but
yeah,
I want to watch it anyway.
I mean, it's frustrating because I feel like there's been the odd exception, but for the most part, even directors who I expect to like, and even actors who I expect to like, uplift the material, still end up with bland things for Netflix.
Yeah, that Synchronicity, was that a Netflix one? Because I know it went up on there, recently.
No, that's not on Netflix. That was made independently. Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, I didn't know what the details on that one were.
Yeah. Speaking of actors who are, starting to pop up in a lot of things, much like Journey, Florence Pugh is on that brink as well of just being like a star. I mean, once Black Widow comes out, she's probably going to have cinched it.
I think she's probably already basically there, but this will be the final push.
I think she's already there internally. It's just the public don't know it yet. If that makes sense.
I mean,
the executives in the studios all know she's a star now, but the public aren't quite aware of it yet. I mean, obviously, we're from Midsummer, various other things recently like that. I'm forgetting, but her name was popping up.
Little Women, she was in that.
Her name was popping up constantly over the last couple of years, and now she's starting to be in big franchises and all that stuff. But anyway, so Florence Pugh is going to be in the adaptation of Emma Donohue's The Wonder. Fantastic Woman director Sebastian Lillo is going to helm the film. And yeah, it's based on a novel set in the Irish Midlands, 1859. So it's I'm probably going to not like this, but
it's a period drama, an Irish period drama. That you must hate it.
I'm so tempted to try and do an Irish accent here for this, but
see, after I've just said that, it would come off as extremely offensive, I think.
1859.
What the hell was that?
Dirty tree. I could do 33. Dirty tree.
You can't.
Dirty tree. I'm 33 years old.
Look, when you're doing that, I'm not hearing Irish. What I'm hearing is Indian.
I'm definitely not trying to do Indian.
No. I know it's not what you're trying to do, but it's what it sounds like.
Dirty tree. Dirty tree.
Can you hear what I'm hearing now?
Dirty tree. All right, fine, whatever. Follows an English nurse. She's not even an Irish character. English nurse. Liberate. She's in the Irish Midlands. Okay.
Look, and also your problem when you were saying 33 then is you're making it into a D sound, and you still want it just to be a T. Just take out the H.
33.
Yeah. It's a little bit softer, but it's 30, like not D.
33.
It's closer. You're not slipping into Indian when you do that.
33. 33 years of age. I don't know.
It's terrible.
Hopefully I can nail it by the time I'm 33, and then I can use it constantly for a year.
You haven't got long.
You quiet. So Liberate is an English nurse in the Irish Midlands. She's summoned to a tiny village to observe what some are claiming as a medical anomaly or a miracle. A girl said to have survived without food for months. Tourists have flocked to the cabin of a 11-year-old, and a journalist has come to cover the sensation. The Wonder is a tale of two strangers who transform each other's lives, a psychological thriller, and a story of love pitted against the evil. Honestly, that's a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be, young English midwife falls for a young, charming young rich man who's like 24.
I think you're describing Call the Midwife.
I don't know.
Nor do I, but I'm just assuming that's what Call the Midwife is like.
Only because the character I said she's a midwife. She's not. She's a nurse, but I called her a midwife.
You leapt a midwife.
I was making fun, and that's just what I went to. Well, midwives were more common in the olden days, right? And now with hospitals, we don't necessarily need, specific midwives as much, do we?
Yeah. Like pretty much, they have a full ward of midwives.
Well, in hospitals, but I mean, we don't have people like midwives who go and live with people when they're expecting, right? That's not a thing, is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, anyone who has a home birth.
How many people have home births? Most people go to the hospital, okay?
Most sensible people do, yes, but there are a not insignificant amount. I only know this
stop
because
picking this apart. Connor, shut up. The point is that there was a time when everyone did it at home, and everyone had a midwife. We don't have that anymore. Stop picking it apart with your know-it-all prickery, okay?
I'm sorry for knowing midwives.
Look, the profession's redundant. Go and do something else. All right.
Go and retrain. Is that what you're saying?
Go and retrain. Right. Soon there'll be robots that'll just pluck out the kids.
That sounds way more fun.
Sure, it'll be. You'll have someone with a joystick, and they'll just be controlling. It'll be that game at the arcade where you get the metal arm. You just like
the grabbers.
The grabbers, and you're just trying to. But it's like a game of Operation. You're trying not to do damage to sides, right? You have to.
Oh.
The film sounds a lot more interesting than I thought.
Oh god, I thought I was the tired one with the spout nonsense tonight.
I'll give you you try to pick apart a fair point I was trying to make. That in the era, midwives were a lot more prominent. I don't think that, in terms of going to live with people, I do not think that is an unfair statement to make.
You didn't specify at-home midwives.
Connor, you're such a disease. That was a paraphrase from the hit film Home Alone. It is called cinema. So moving on. Speaking of, I mean, this is an actress who I thought was ascending to the same thing that Smollett and Pugh were kind of going to, and it kind of turned. It feels like she's kind of like missed that boat a little bit, and it's become a very good like B movie scream queen, or not even just a scream queen, but like a B movie like attraction, I suppose. And that is Alexandra Daddario.
Yeah. Okay.
See what I'm saying?
I'd still say like she's definitely a household name.
Yeah, no, I like her a lot, and she's a reason to watch a lot of movies, and she was good in that. Otherwise, I mean, her and the other lead were pretty good in that. What was it called last year with Johnny Knoxville, and it was the three girls kidnapped the guys.
I don't think I saw this.
I forgot the name, but anyway, they were good in that. The point is that I thought she was ascending to be that kind of like, you know, be the big franchise person, and then she never quite made it there. But now she's just kind of like, no, she's like a name that you like to see on these B movies and stuff that are coming out.
Think the studios like the fact that she's a name. She draws in an audience. Like you can put her name on a poster and it'll mean something.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not at stupid levels of stardom where she'll be really expensive. Or I mean, I'm sure she's expensive, but not to the same levels as some of the others.
Yes. Anyway, so she's going to be in a film called Die in a Gunfight, which has already been shot, but it's been picked up by Lionsgate to release this summer in what they're calling a multi-platform release. So probably VOD plus theaters, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's any other options. That's just the options.
I mean, the options are
home release, I suppose. You could do like a Blu-ray. Yeah, I suppose that would count.
And when you say VOD, the options are still: is this going to a service or is it a rent/buy for a premium first? I'm assuming that. I
would assume rental. I wouldn't assume premium, because premium rental is a thing that came about because movies that were supposed to be theater releases got released VOD instead. I feel like movies that went straight to VOD for just straight rentals were priced more fairly.
They were. The reason I still think it might be premium rentals is I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of studios make deals with cinemas that for the first at least 30 days it'll be a premium rental to still encourage people to
No, they absolutely did this, but it wasn't what you're calling a premium rental. You're thinking of $20-$30. Like, yeah. A lot of movies didn't start at that price though. A lot of these VOD movies were starting at like 10 or 15. They weren't as high.
No, I'm saying this is a separate thing. There's your basic VOD release, like you're describing there, and then there's the premium rental. I'm saying this could go either way still.
I don't think it will. That doesn't feel like one of these to me.
No, fair enough.
That feels like the random thing that pops up in the VOD site and you forgot it existed and you went, oh yeah, that exists.
Fair enough. I mean, we'll
maybe
see
you check it
at
out
some point.
But yes, so this is Colin Shifley's film, Colin Shifley, written by Andrew Barrer and Gabriel Ferrari. Gabriel Ferrari, what a name. So, an unpredictable collection of schemers and killers collide when Ben reconnects with his old flame Mary to fight for the love against the cruel fate itself. It is a fresh and contemporary film packed with action, romance, and twists at every turn. So a little bit vague. It sounds like I don't know, action thriller, I guess. Maybe a light-hearted one, potentially.
Yeah. But I mean, it's got Daddario in it, so I might watch it.
I think the title implies a bit more light-hearted than serious. Sounds a bit more B-movie.
I'd agree with that.
Die in a gunfight.
Plus her casting, like we were just discussing.
That's true. Next up, Selena Gomez is going to star in a horror movie called Spiral. You may be confused for a second here because you're thinking, wait a minute, isn't the new Saw movie called Spiral? Yes, it's called Spiral from the Book of Saw. There's another film now being made called Spiral that has no connection to
that's not confusing.
Spiral from the Book of Saw. So she's signed to star in the horror film Spiral.
Still a horror film?
Still a horror film. Being produced by Drake.
Of course it is.
I assume that's someone important. I'm supposed to know who he is by one name.
Music. Rapper.
He's a rat. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Petra Collins is directing Spiral. Sounds like a body horror movie, according to Bird Disgusting. Here's what we know from it. The story follows a former social media influencer. We're getting movies about social media influencers. So we're really ascending into the 21st century. Whose addiction to social media is causing her body to literally fall apart. That sounds
there's potential for this to be a very biting commentary.
I think that this to me sounds like it could fall on the same lines as Cam, which was the Cam Girl stalker horror movie, in that it actually had a lot to say about the subject that it was talking about and did it through horror. I feel like this could do a similar thing here. So
yeah, it's possible. I can't remember the last time Selena Gomez acted in anything.
She was in that, fun enough, one of the few really good Netflix movies with Paul Rudd. The Fundamentals of Caring. It was like 5 years ago now.
I was gonna say that was like 2015 or something like that, wasn't it?
It's like literally the only thing I've seen her in though. So
I mean, I've seen her pop up in things over the years, but it's been a while. That might be the last thing I saw.
That I remember anyway. All right, moving on. Netflix has closed the deal to acquire at least the US rights to Gunpowder Milkshake.
I'm in.
It's an interesting title, I'll give it that. A female-driven action film directed by Navot Papushado. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Honestly, any way you pronounce that last name, though, it looks cool. So, coming from Studio Canal and the Picture Company. It's an 8-figure deal, apparently. SDX retains the rights in Canada, Latin America, and Chinese distribution rights. Studio Canal have got UK, France, Germany, and Australia, New Zealand rights. So I hate this. I hate when it's all split up like this.
That might mean Amazon for those countries. Studio Canal have a lot of things on Amazon.
It's just annoying when everything's split up like that and it's like 3 different camps.
It is annoying for us. From the people selling the rights, I get it. They were offering more money, right?
Yeah. So the female-centric action film stars Karen Gillan, Lena Headey, Angela Bassett, and Paul Giamatti, with Carla Gugino, Michelle Yeoh, and Chloe Coleman. I don't know who Chloe Coleman is, but I recognise every other name on that list, so fair play.
Yeah, I'm in.
The action-heavy films focus on 3 generations of female assassins who fight to stop a vicious cycle of violence that has haunted their lives. The action takes place over the course of one night. I always love a one-night movie. I love a one-night movie.
This sounds kind of great.
Interesting cast, interesting premise, and while it will technically be a Netflix film, at least in the US, it's just one they've picked up. It's not something they've made, so yeah, it could be good. I'm not. Do you know what? It's got a good title. Gunpowder Milkshake's a good title.
Definitely, it's definitely. I think the most memorable title out of everything we've talked about so far tonight.
Yeah, although Dying a Gunfight, I think second.
Yeah,
I think it's all right. Bruce Willis is phoning it in once again. I love how we had, like, maybe not quite back to back, but I feel like there was like 5 stories there all about actresses. Like there was all like so and so's been cast because we had conversations about Florence Pugh, Alexander Daddario, Johnny Smollett, and then we just had Karen Gillan with Lena Headey. Like I feel like it's been kind of ladies' night on the movie news so far, and then we get to Bruce Willis, who's probably going to phone in a performance and collect a paycheck.
A lot that one, I didn't even notice that that was a run of ladies. So I was just like, oh, a bunch of cool stories. And 2, we were like really positive about almost all of those and all of those actresses, and then you get to Bruce Willis. It's like, okay.
I mean, Bruce Willis in the 80s and 90s, I very much enjoy, but I mean,
sure, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, it's not. But I'm just saying, Bruce Willis' name once carried some cred. Now he's a grumpy
Still
old man
coasting on that cred,
who's just getting the Steven Seagal treatment. So he's joined Jesse Atlas' elevated thriller Soul Assassin.
What does an elevated thriller mean?
Maybe it's set in an elevator. We'll find out in a second.
Don't you dare.
And Soul Assassin, a woman's husband, is killed in action as part of an experimental new military program. A former Black Ops soldier then takes his place to find his killer. That is the most generic.
Oh god, I thought it was going to be something to it at least.
Oh dear.
I'm never going to watch this.
Yeah, Dominic Purcell's in talks to join the cast, and yeah, I mean we like him in Legends of Tomorrow, but it's hardly a selling point.
No.
Hardly a selling point. Next up, Amazon Studios has won the auction for the screen rights to You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, a novel by Akwake Emezi, and I probably butchered that name, apologies. But Simon Schuster imprint Atira will publish in 2022, so it's a book that's not even out yet. This is another one of these examples of Hollywood sort of reading the manuscripts and going, oh, let's get the rights to that before it's even out. So Michael B. Jordan's Outlier Society is going to develop it. His new film, Without Remorse, opens on Amazon Prime this week, so check that out. In fact, it should be out by the time this news goes out. So yeah, it's another part of potentially another, because I think he's got like a first look with Amazon right now, so potentially there's another thing that will go to them. This is quite early in the day though. So the book sold in a bidding battle in the vicinity of the high six figures to the low seven figures, meaning that it was around 1 million.
Give or take.
Yes. Yeah. A little under, a little over. But it was competitive, so 8 different studios were involved, so cool. The protagonist is a beautiful Nigerian 29-year-old aspiring artist in Brooklyn who loses her husband in a tragic accident. While she grieves through her art, her life begins to turn around when she meets a handsome new man at a party. And is given as an introduction to a major curator who wants to launch her career in the art world. But even as romance takes her to a beautiful estate in the Caribbean, she struggles with the challenge of balancing grief with the desire to move forward with her life. Super just a drama then.
Yeah.
Nothing else there.
No. Probably not really for us, unless it's particularly,
well directed,
extremely well made. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of these things where it's just a straight drama, unless it's just the quality's that high, it comes off a bit dry, I think. Particularly, not to just be like nerds and be like, we like science fiction and horror and shit like that, but it's not that I don't love a good drama. I do when it's really good, but it's hard to tell
that from a description without names attached of people that you know that you like. With a trailer, like, it's a lot easier to go, yeah, this is a drama, but it's got quality.
Even with a director, you could if you know the director, but we don't have that yet even, so
yeah.
So we'll see. But the book was called You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, so maybe they'll keep the whole title, but maybe it's a bit long, maybe they'll change it, but there you go. Next up, we have cast. You're not going to know any of these, probably.
Okay.
But Odessa Zion, Aaron Holiday, who was in Sharp Objects apparently, although I do not remember, Will Block have all signed on to star in For the Night, a high-concept indie horror film written and directed by James Kimball. I hear Kimball and I just think of Kindergarten Cop, because that's who he was. He was Mr. Kimball. John Kimball.
Good for you.
There is no bathroom! Great film. So, this is Kimball's directorial debut. It is described as taking an innovative. I don't know why I struggle with this word sometimes. Innovative spin on the found footage horror genre. Found footage. Oh.
Is there any way to be innovative with found footage anymore?
Holiday will play Alex Wells, a socially awkward, introverted teenager whose main form of escape and expression is his skateboard. Hey, skateboarding, yeah. Let's get 90s. Things begin to go awry for Alex when his best friend J.K. Moore, played by Block, and J.K.'s cousin Tanner Bores, played by Zion, discover a hidden skate spot within an abandoned hospital. You know what? Why does a skate spot? I mean, I guess it's maybe not an actual skate park. It's just a good place to skate because it's abandoned.
Did it say skate park or skate spot?
It's a spot.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Admittedly, I can see this just being The Gallows or any other random found footage movie that you could name. But
yeah, I don't understand what the innovative spin on it is.
Maybe they're not told us yet. Maybe that's secretive for now.
I feel like that's the bit you want to be telling everyone. Maybe
all the ghosts are all skateboarders.
That's not innovative.
I think it's a step forward.
I'm not saying it would be bad.
Well, I say step forward, more of a roll forward.
Oh, why are we even here?
Oh, well, let's get to the movie news then. Sorry, TV news. We're done the movie news.
I was like, oh God, don't tell me we've got to start again.
Let's go to the TV news. We'll start with the trailer we got for Sweet Tooth, the Netflix show based on the Jeff Lemire comic book, which there's a sequel series that's only just started coming out recently, which I've not read, but I read the entire original book, all 40 issues, give or take. And so I'm familiar with this. I definitely and I immediately looked at some of the cast for this and thought, this kid's not skinny enough. And then I looked at Daniel Radcliffe. He's not beefy enough. Like, I expect the father figure to be like more beefy and the kid to be more like basically young Connor with antlers.
Honestly, not that unfair to say.
Otherwise, honestly, I don't even know what to say about the trailer. It seems fine. Like it's got it tries to be emotional and sweeping with the music, and it's coming soon and all that.
A lot of the practical effects look solid. There's a couple of CG things that look a bit janky.
There's a green screen. There's a moment with a woman standing in a street, and there's the elephants after a bit, but even when she's just standing there with the street behind her, it looked green screened, and I thought, that's a bit ruffling.
There's a shot of like a deer in a forest, and the deer, just when it moves, it just looks janky.
Yeah, the premise of Sweet Tooth, of course, is that there is a virus which takes out a lot of the humans, but there's also that certain kids start being born with mutations, animal parts, things like that. And our main character, this kid, Sweet Tooth, obviously not his real name, but that's kind of what he becomes to be known as. It's about his journey. And the trailer kind of sets up there's that basic premise that this is the world we're in, and he's this innocent kid. There's not a lot of Radcliffe as the father in this. There's only one or two moments.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's interesting that they're not kind of playing that up yet, because probably the most notable cast member, right? I wonder if they're maybe saving that for a second trailer a little bit closer to kind of build up some hype.
Yeah, maybe. But hey. But it seems okay. So this is coming out on the 4th of June. So we've got just over a month to wait for this.
Yeah, this surprised me when it dropped, because it feels like not that long since we were talking about this as a thing. Compared to some other things that we talk about that feel like they're in production for years before we see them. Especially from like Netflix, for example. I feel like it wasn't that long ago that we heard that this was actually happening. There was talk for a while, but and when they actually were like, no, this is a thing that we're doing. No, it feels like this is sooner than I expected based off of that.
Yeah. So moving on to some DC stuff. We get a bunch of things, mostly casting, but we'll start with Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, the worst Green Lantern. Finn Wittrock. That almost sounds that sounds very Irish when you say it. Wittrock.
I can see where you come from, yeah.
I don't know if it is an Irish name, but it sounds Irish when I say it like that. Finn definitely sounds Irish.
That is an Irish name, yes.
Finn's pretty Irish. Wittrock probably could be. But so Finn Wittrock, he has been cast as Guy Gardner, one of the Green Lanterns who are going to be in the Green Lantern TV show that HBO Max is doing. Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, Seth Grahame-Smith producing. So is this more of a... this is a bit more of a description I think we've had before.
And I was under the impression, based off one of these articles that I saw earlier, that he was the lead Green Lantern in this show. Maybe that may have been a misleading article.
That would be a crying shame if that's the case. It could be it can be one of 3 or 4 leads, sure, but the lead, that would be a crying shame. The first ever Green Lantern TV show is led by Guy Gardner. Come on, that
would be amazing.
Talk about like dropping the ball. This would be Zack Snyder directing the first Batman Superman movie, right? This is the level
how dare you keep that stance? You cannot genuinely comprehend and compare those things. You do not mean that. This is Vince McMahon buying WCW, but doing the invasion with the C-listers. That's what that is. That went over my head. I can't argue with that one. I don't know what that means.
I know, but it's a perfect comparison. So Green Lantern reinvents the classic DC property through stories spanning decades and galaxies, beginning on Earth in 1941 with the very first Green Lantern, secretly gay FBI agent Alan Scott. Yeah,
I'm very interested.
that perked your ears up when I got to 1941.
Well, hang on. As soon as you said 94, I was like, oh, hello. So hang on, I'm getting Alan Scott and Guy Gardner. My two favourite Lanterns.
Oh, Alan Scott's definitely better than Guy Gardner. Much better. I'll give you that. And then 1984 with cocky alpha male Guy Gardner. And half alien. Sorry?
Are those the two Human Lantern leads of this show?
And then half alien Bree Jarta. Do I know Bree Jarta? Is that a character I know?
That name does. I mean, you might be just saying it wrong.
They'll be joined by a multitude of other lanterns from comic book favourites to never seen before heroes. So, Guy Gardner is a hulking mass of masculinity. Damn it. And rendered as the comics an embodiment of 1980s hyper patriotism, and yet Guy is somehow likeable. I need to see the receipts. I need to see the receipts on that deadline. How dare you say that? How dare you?
I will defend that to my dying breath.
Somehow likeable. I mean,
he
at
is
least
the most likable.
At least the tone of which it's been said, I appreciate, and somehow likable.
That's the charm of Guy Gardner. You're like, he shouldn't be likable, yet I just do. He's just great.
Whatever. I mean, I'm joking because I like to make fun of Guy, but I am excited for a Green Lantern TV show. I love that we've got two different, and the fact that one of them's Alan Scott is actually kind of cool because,
it's great that they're taking the, more recent, route with him being gay. That's only in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. No, it's cool because he's kind of separate from the rest of them. So the idea that we're doing the first thing with tying in the 40s stuff, and we're doing like legacy, original GSA Alan Scott Green Lantern is kind of cool. I wonder if they even kind of loosely tie it to Stargirl a little bit, just because they've established GSA. I don't know.
Shared producers is possible.
Yeah.
And like I say, those are my two favorite Lanterns, and the first Green Lantern show, them two seemingly being the two human leads. That's like, this was made for me. This better not suck.
Just watch it be like worse than Arrow season 4.
Joe, we're talking about this at work. I need to collate a list of my Arrow drinking rules because I've forgotten too many of them. But they want graphics so that they can play along.
They want to watch Arrow and use your drinking rules?
They want something to have a drinking game for. And I was like, well.
I see.
I've got some for Arrow. And then the other CW shows.
Next up, though, sticking with DC and casting, Titans season 3. We've got a famous Bat villain has been cast. Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane. He'll be played by Vincent Kartheiser, who you may know from Angel, the spin-off to the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was also in Mad Men, but I mean, so. Yes, he's going to be Scarecrow. Honestly, I think this is actually pretty decent casting. He's got kind of a scrawny look to him. I think that's perfect for Jonathan Crane. So I could see this working. And he, obviously now he's old enough that he could be Jonathan Crane.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like I mostly saw him when he was like playing a teenager or like early 20 something. So that'd be too young for Jonathan
Crane. If anything, he's on the older end of what I think of as Crane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Not that we're watching Titans anymore, but it seemed notable because a big character to mention that it's been cast.
I might drunk watch it at some point.
And then speaking of Naomi, CW's doing Naomi still. Ava DuVernay producing. Casey Wallfall is apparently signed up to play the lead role. So, there's even a photo of her. Oh, wow, okay. There's actually a photo of her technically in character.
What do you mean technically in character?
I mean, she's in character. I mean, there's that cover from Naomi. Wasn't issue 1? It's the one where she's got the red string with the photos, but it's not on a board. She's got like up like around her, like a web.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, well they've recreated that with like this actress sort of like pinning something up to this web. So that's kind of neat.
That's cool.
So I guess, I mean, I think I misread this article when I looked at the headline. I thought they'd just cast her. I think this is them saying, oh, here's their first look at her in the role. So. But
if you didn't know that she was cast, it might as well be news.
I mean, the sad part is it probably did come up in the TV news. It's just that because it's an unknown actor, I didn't remember.
It's possible. I don't remember ever talking about this though.
Yeah.
I feel like we might remember it because it's a property that we're familiar with.
I like the character, I like the comics, so I hope the show's good. I mean, CW, of course, so all bets are off, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. And then speaking of, Stargirl Season 2, we have a return date, just to
Finally
roll off of the other DC stuff into this. We have a date in August, 10th of August is when Stargirl Season 2 will premiere, which almost puts it into like fall. I mean, it's not really, because their fall starts in October, but
that's what I was saying. In any other network, I'd say this is really late for summer. And I was about to say that until I thought, well, hang on, they don't start till like mid to late October anyway.
But, you know, I'm assuming it's another, 10 episodes? It's going to be like going into October a little bit.
It's going to be like, this is less a summer season and more of a pre-season.
Yeah. And similarly, Supergirl's final season is also starting, or it's coming back rather, in August, because they put out some of it just now while Superman's on a break, and then it's on a hiatus when Superman's back.
Is Superman running that long then?
I think it's running that long.
Okay, because that's a change then, because originally it was, when they announced it, it was as soon as Superman finishes, Supergirl will take its place again, like within a week or two.
It is running that long, because they've actually got here in the schedule for August. Like, it's the same night as Stargirl, it's on after it.
Well, there you go then.
So yeah, it's still there. I mean, it's not coming back till late May, and there's like at least 10 episodes left, because there's like 15 total.
Yeah, I think it's coming back on like, I want to say like 17th of May, something like that.
18th. I think it's the 18th. June, July. Yeah, so that should be its finale then, I imagine. There must
10. There must be more than 10, because 10 only brings you to late July.
They must be taking a week off or something for some reason. I'm sure it's only 15 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's only 15. But I mean,
there might be something.
Them having a random week off for some reason isn't unheard of.
Not at all.
If there's something going on a Tuesday or a Monday, it's Tuesdays this is airing on, at least in August it's airing on a Tuesday. There has been Tuesdays.
I mean, it always has been.
Maybe there's some big event or something. I don't know. Then again, pandemic still technically, so I mean...
when are the Olympics now? Because they got moved to this year, right?
I have no idea. But moving over to Marvel casting, Killian Scott is in negotiations to join Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn and the others that were announced recently for Secret Invasion. So, not much to... I just wanted to throw it in there just because I know people would expect me to mention a big Marvel casting. No news on who he's playing. We got a replacement for something, which is still interesting. If anything, it's maybe more exciting now because of the quality of the actor. But we were kind of pleasantly interested by who it was before. So if you remember Light Years, the sci-fi show, we were surprised that the actors who they hired in the leads, which was Ed O'Neill specifically for the male lead. Well, he's actually been replaced by J.K. Simmons. So similar age, of course. So we still have an older man in the role, and arguably a better actor because J.K. Simmons is fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have been curious to see Ed O'Neill in a serious role, though.
I get that. It's hard to complain, though, because J.K. Simmons is fantastic in pretty much everything he does.
Apparently, Ed O'Neill left for family reasons, or the reasons cited. So, I mean, that could just be a blanket reason for anything, quite frankly. But that's fine. Whatever. There was a personal reason why he decided to opt out because he didn't want to go shoot it. Fine.
Fair enough.
But yeah. So yeah. So this is the lighthouse in space premise for anyone who's just forgotten. But cool. So that is that. Next up, Dom from Mr. Robot, Grace Gummer, has been cast as a series regular opposite Damien Bashir and Anika Roney Rose in Let the Right One In, Showtime's vampire drama pilot, based on, of course, the movie.
I forgot they were doing this.
Based on the book that the movie's also based on, I should say.
It's a very good book, by the way.
Oh, that doesn't surprise. I mean,
I love that, but I read it a couple of years ago, and it made me love the original movie more as well, just for how how well it adapts it, because there are entire chunks that it cuts out that are great in the book. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic, but also would ruin the pacing of a movie. So I'll be very excited to see some of those entire plot and character threads potentially being brought back in for this show.
I unfortunately can't be excited just because I got a movie that turned out to be my favorite vampire movie of all time.
Yeah, perfect.
Let the Right One is phenomenal. Yeah. And then a remake by Matt Reeves, who's a very good director, turned out a very solid movie that had at least one unique sequence that made it stand out a little bit. But for the most part, I just kind of felt like, well, this is fine, but I'm always just going to go back to the original now. Like, I'm never going to watch this version again. I don't need a second version of this. So in that same vein, I don't necessarily need a third version either.
I get that. I think the only reason that I say, like I said, does help this is it's a different format with it being TV as opposed to a movie. It can include a lot of extra material from the book that might make it feel pretty different. And also, Grayscum's pretty good. Also, another example of, someone with famous parents in the same field.
Really? Who's her parents?
Her mum's Meryl Streep.
Well, that's news to me.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, fair enough. I just assumed you did.
I mean, her name's not Grace Streep.
No, it's not. She presumably that was a very conscious choice on her part. Maybe when she got into acting.
Well, it depends. What's her father's name?
I don't know, but it might have been the case where she, if she'd wanted to when she got into acting, she could have chosen.
It could have been a stage name if she wanted to honor her, but she decided she wanted to go on her own and not live off the name.
Like you say, she's been acting for a while and pretty notable things for years, and you had no idea. So credit to her on that.
Yeah. So it was the same with Nicolas Cage was the big one when I realized he was actually related to the Estevezes and they're all related to the Coppolas, like that whole web. Like that was like when I found that out, I was like, oh wait, whoa, weird.
That is the appropriate reaction to pretty much anything with Nicolas Cage. So.
And the Sheens, of course. I said Estevez. I forget like who changed whose name, but like Estevez is a Sheen, and whatever. Anyway, so yeah, based on the novel and the movie, revolves around Mark and his 12-year-old daughter, whose lives were changed forever 10 years earlier when she was turned into a vampire. So this is different. This doesn't sound like it's just doing... Unless the book's really different, and this sounds like the book. But locked in at age 12, perhaps forever, Eleanor lives in a closed life, able to go out only at night, while her father does his best to provide for her with the minimal amount of human blood she needs to stay alive. Gummer will play Claire, the heiress of a pharmaceutical empire, and a brilliant scientist who turned down the family's billion-dollar business to pursue a humbler, nobler career in disease research. But her life gets turned upside down. Let me just tell you a minute to tell you how I became the
You don't have to do this every time a description uses that sentence.
But her estranged, ailing father summons her home and reveals a terrible secret. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here about that I recognise. I mean, other than the fact that there's a kid who's a vampire.
And presumably is Eli, right?
It doesn't say the name, I don't think, of the kid.
It said Eleanor, right?
Is that, yeah, I guess you could call that. But this is, I mean, I suppose that in this case, I'm more interested because it's just doing a different thing now.
It's definitely different, because in the book, I don't think it's a father, for a start. And
it's definitely not.
No, but definitely not in the movie, but I don't think it is in the book either.
Yeah.
And it's more, he does her bidding, essentially, right?
Yeah, that sounds like... I mean, this says that she was only turned 10 years ago. I mean, I don't know about the book, but the movie definitely hinted at that she's been a vampire for a long-ass time. A lot more than 10 years.
Yeah, no, the book's the same.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like backstory.
But it doesn't sound like it's set in the past. This sounds like it's just doing a contemporary thing where it's starting near the start of the journey.
A contemporary prequel, so to speak.
Yes. So, which means they could probably do the relationship of Eleanor meeting, the other kid later.
If they so wanted to, yeah.
Yeah. That could be like season 3 or something. I mean, this is a little more interesting now that I've read that it's doing something that's very different from the actual material.
It should be harder to directly compare them and be like, oh, well, this isn't just a remake.
I mean, at this point, I'm like, we'll just call it something else, you bastards. But sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's one of those things where people who care about Let the Right One In will be annoyed that that they're using the name and you're doing another version of it, and but the name doesn't hold enough value for the casuals where it means something to them, where they see the name and go, oh, I recognize that name.
Especially when you consider the American version wasn't called Let the Right
Yeah, I
One In.
know, exactly. So it's one of those weird. It's like, oh, we're going to remake this thing from the 70s that only hardcore fans will recognize, and they're the ones that you're going to piss off by remaking it. So why do it? Why not just do a new similar thing? Anyway, next up. I didn't make you watch this because I didn't see the point. There was a short teaser trailer for Dexter's Return.
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
It's basically just like a reveal of his face, and he sort of smirks. There's nothing to it.
Thrilling.
I'll be honest. I'm surprised. It said this fall. I'm surprised it's moved ahead this quick. I thought we were just like in the stages of
Didn't we only just talk about that being a possibility of a thing?
Yeah. It's clearly it's moving very, very quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to be terrible. Then
Probably.
again, the bar was so low in the last like 4 seasons of Dexter that, I mean, maybe it'll happen.
You say that, but I mean, there are other shows that were terrible at the end. They came back and you went, it can't be that bad, right? And then they were. Looking at you, Heroes.
Yes, Heroes is the example. I knew you were thinking about Heroes. Here's something that'll please you, because I know you've been watching it. Invincible's been renewed for season 2 and 3 at Amazon. This is the animated show based on the comic, which has been getting a lot of acclaim.
Yeah, the final episode of season 1 dropped today, I believe.
Oh, there you go.
I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, today. And this news did come, I think, just late enough yesterday that it was before they dropped the new episode.
That's
I'm
neat.
very happy about this.
Oh, that's neat. I mean, you've got a guaranteed future then for a while, so
Yeah.
There you go. So Invincible renewed for 2 more seasons. Speaking of renewals, NBC renewed 2 of its sitcoms, 2 of its comedies for season 2s. Those being Young Rock, which is about The Rock, but when he was young, if you didn't get that. And then
Surely thing.
Surely Little Rock, but is a better title than Young Rock, but whatever. And then Keenan has been renewed for season 2, which is the Keenan from Keenan and Kel fame. Apparently, he's a big like part of Saturday Night Live and has been for a long time. But I've never seen Saturday Night Live, so Keenan and Kel's what I know him from, and Good Burger, obviously. But that's your extent.
Fair enough. Okay. I have very little to add about either of those.
Yeah, not me. Just about to throw them in. Peacock is circling an anthology series from Good Girl's creator, executive producer, co-showrunner Jenna Bans, and her collaborator, co-showrunner Bill Krebs. Considered a development deal, co-created and produced by Bans and Krebs. These are weird names. Who'll share shores. The project follows a darkly comedic, twisted love story, or several stories, in fact, throughout history. The first season, so this would be a season anthology, by the sounds of it then. The first season, based on the Washington Post article Flight of the Heart, it explores the true story of Ron McIntosh and Samantha Dorinda Lopez, 2 unlikely criminals who met at the original Club Fed prison in the mid-1980s, fell in love, and, desperate to be together forever, staged what would become one of the most daring prison escapes in history.
Okay, sure.
I mean, it sounds like a wacky enough story, so I guess maybe the point is that they're not just, like, basic love story. They're stuff that were a bit crazier, had a bit more oomph for them.
Yeah. I can see how that is adapted into a show.
Yes. I can see kind of the quirky, like, I don't want to say like Natural Born Killers or Joker and Harley. I'm thinking more, maybe Bonnie and Clyde's maybe a bit too prestigious. Something in between. Something where
I was going to say, you're shooting a bit high there.
You've got a wacky sort of pairing and romance that I have to imagine there's some humour.
I think Bonnie and Clyde is what they're hoping for.
Oh, maybe, yes. Lena Headey was mentioned earlier. She's back here in the TV section. She's involved in adapting Christian Mackay Heidecker's Scary Stories for Young Foxes. She's attached to voice a character in an animated miniseries adaptation of the award-winning kids horror novel and co-produce it with Boat Rocker Studios. So she's producing and voicing in it. Scary Stories for Young Foxes is a coming-of-age tale of 2 young foxes born of different families whose youthful misfortunes bring them together. I missed a word and then I had to finish the sentence. Sometimes you got to think on your feet here when you miss a word.
You,
and
you
you're
didn't do a great job there, did you?
Sometimes it's easy because I do it a lot more than I think you notice. That's easy. I'll just it's an easy way to wrap this sentence up. But sometimes there's nothing you can do. You miss out the word them. You say bring together. Oh shit, that's the end of the sentence. What have I missed? Them. Oh, bring together them. So you can't just add it at the end. It doesn't work with that one. 8 interconnected stories explore the power of scary tales, why we tell them, and how we react to them. So,
could be fun.
Yeah, I don't know what that's going to be.
We were talking about kids horror last time, right?
It's a little bit different, if nothing else. So,
yeah.
So there you go. Next up, Peacock's given a straight-to-series order to Wolf Like Me, a 6-episode, half-hour, genre-bending romantic comedy from Little Monsters Helmer, Abe Forsyth. Little Monsters, that was the horror comedy zombie movie with the scouts or the school kids, if I remember right. But we have Josh Gad and Isla Fisher starring in this. So,
okay.
so some names that you recognise. And Wolf Like Me, created and written by Forsyth, everyone brings their own set of baggage to a new relationship. Gary and Mary are no different. Gary's an emotional wreck and struggles to provide for his daughter since the death of his wife. Mary has a secret she can't bring herself to share with anyone. The universe brought these two together for a reason. They just need to keep following the signs. So, doesn't give us a whole lot. Really, I think it really sells the two characters they're going to be playing, I suppose, more than anything.
You said it was genre bending or something?
Yes, genre bending romantic comedy.
Okay, I'm not getting that from that description beyond them just telling me that, but there's nothing in the description that makes me think it's not just a rom-com.
Maybe there's a hook that they don't want to reveal yet. They want to save for a trailer.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something weird going on, like I mean, it says genre bending. I don't know. Maybe they don't literally meet in the way that we think a couple normally meet. Maybe there's like a sort of mystery element where they sort of follow the trail to each other. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's a mystery romantic comedy.
It's possible.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of another genre to throw in there to shake up. Taika Waititi is being cast in a role in a HBO Max period comedy called Our Flag Means Death. He's also serving as executive producer, and he's going to direct the pilot. He's going to star opposite Rhys Darby in the series, another very likeable comedic actor who he's worked with before as well. Writer David Jenkins from People of Earth and Garrett Besh from What We Do in the Shadows and Dan Halstead are involved. So not a bad team of people to be doing a comedy.
I'm not hearing anything wrong. Yeah.
Our Flag Means Death is based loosely on the true adventures of Steed Bonnet, or maybe Bonnet, but played by Darby, a pampered aristocrat who abandoned his life.
Bonnet.
Okay. Who abandoned his life. So he's an aristocrat who abandoned his life of privilege to become a pirate.
I'm in.
Some things feel like they just like two people fall in love but they don't tell you anything else, or someone's investigating a murder but they tell you nothing else. Some premises give you the entire pitch, the entire selling point in a single simple sentence.
They give you everything I need.
Admittedly, I think the actor is an important part here as well. I think knowing who's playing this guy who gives up his life and becomes a pirate makes it 10 times more interesting than just the premise on its own.
But even removing that, I think that's a solid just here's your premise. Especially for a comedy. I think that would be enough to at least go, okay, I'm interested.
Alright, next up. Hulu is given a formal pilot order to Olga Dies Dreaming, a 1-hour drama based on the forthcoming novel by Xochitl Gonzalez. That was Xochitl. That first name.
Zottel?
Zuckel. I'm not making fun of you, by the way. I'm just having fun because I'm struggling to pronounce your name. I do apologize. I do worry sometimes that people think I'm being disrespectful, and I'm really not. I just, if I have some fun with the name, I'm doing it in the best of intentions, the best of spirits. But yes. So this is coming from Sundance winning filmmaker Alfonso Gomez Rejon, from Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, a movie that I very much liked.
Very good movie.
So written by Gonzalez and directed by Gomez Rajon. Olga Dies Dreaming is the story of a Nuyorican brother and sister. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. I actually don't know. I'm not familiar with this nationality, I presume that is.
I don't know what the word you're trying to say, unfortunately, to know if it's wrong.
NYU. Sorry. NUI rather. NUI ORICAN. So Orican's definitely the last part. I'm just not unfamiliar with how to say the first part.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah. But anyway, so a brother and sister from a gentrifying Sunset Park, Brooklyn, reckoning with the absent political radical mother and their glittering careers among New York City's elite in the wake of Hurricane Maria. So, sounds like a... This is the thing where the talent, particularly from Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, gives me a lot more interest in this, because it sounds like it could be a really dry drama, but knowing the person directing it makes me go, oh, I see a lot of potential in how this story is going to be told because of that name. This is an example of that.
This is exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? Where just without that name, or without any of those names attached, we're like, okay. But you throw in a name that we care about, and all of a sudden there's a vision.
Yeah, okay. Final news story of the day. We can't escape Peacock.
God damn it.
Peacock is just the cock that keeps on cocking. Kristen Ritter is going to direct the first 4 episodes of an adaptation of Crypt TV's Girl in the Woods. So they've ordered 8 episodes of Girl in the Woods, based on the horror company's The Door in the Woods and its sequel, The Girl in the Woods. The series will have a new cast from the movies, which starred the like of Cal Penn and Peyton List. This was wait, what? There was movies?
How do you not know about horror movies?
Yeah, I don't know.
Relatively recent, no, judging by those names.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with this. Set in the Pacific Northwest, Girl in the Woods follows Carrie's escape from her mysterious cult-like colony that guards the world from monsters hidden behind a secret door within the woods. Okay. I wish you told me a bit about tone, because Girl in the Woods sounds like it might be more of a not all ages, but like maybe like young adult, maybe geared towards maybe a teenage audience. But it might not actually be. Maybe it's just because it's called Girl in the Woods. Yeah.
What was the other one called? Because it had the name of the first movie.
The Door in the Woods.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming that The Girl in the Woods is the sequel.
Yes.
By the sounds of it, so I don't think it necessarily has a different tone. Because Door in the Woods, I wouldn't expect it to be anything other than just it's a horror thing.
Yeah. No, it has escaped me. This whatever it is. But hey, there you go. That is the news. This has been a long ass episode, and I am very hungry. So. We're wrapping this up right now, so you can tell us what you think of these news stories in the comments, and please do like and subscribe. It is the simple and free way to support everything we do by simply hitting that old like button and subscribing. Maybe even ding that bell if you want notifications every time something's published. But you can also support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble, so have a look and see if you're interested. And otherwise, that is pretty much us. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies and TV shows. And once again, Guy Gardner is the worst Green Lantern. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.